Hello, welcome everybody. Today we're going to talk about the human family because ever since my generation has been on this planet, they had this idea that it gave us about colorism. You know, white, black, red, brown, yellow. I never really believed in it my whole life. Only because science has documented, religion has documented that humans rule this planet. Humans walk on this planet. Of course, there are other species, but the two-legged species is the human species. Uh, there was only one race. There was only one humanity. And no matter what we are conditioned to and indoctrinated to think or to understand, there's only one race. So only has been only one race. Now, yes, they do attribute and they do have documentation that life began in Africa. And if that is so, it is easy to say and easy to realize that this is a melanated planet. And if it was started off with a melanated mother, excuse me, you'll hear a couple of clocks in the background go off. But as we are here, we'll understand that there is a melanated mother. And that melanated mother had created children. And if you're sitting there and using your head and your own intuition, your own discernment, you can understand that throughout generations, throughout centuries, billions of years, millions of years, quadrillion years, whatever it is, because we are told that whatever our history is handed to us on a silver platter, but we got to think outside that box. We already know that whatever has been given to us isn't true. And that goes from my generation and the generations before. I don't know about the generations after, but they are strong-willed, the generations after. And they are well equipped with the tools needed to take down this system. Now, my generation grew up in the system. That system, let me just elaborate what that system is: education, economics, entertainment, labor law, religion, politics, war. Let me see if I'm forgetting anything. Sex. So that is the system. And we are under attack 365 days a year, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And if you do not understand that, anything else I will say will confuse you. So let's go back to my generation. We're Generation X. We were born from, I believe it was 65 to 89. Now, those people that were born in 65 to 89 had a history that other people didn't have. But I noticed that the history that I received when I was going to school was the history or the current events my mother was going through as she was born into this world and what her family was going into as she grew up. So, for instance, Hitler was started in 1940s. My mother was born in 1943, so she was 42. She was 2 or 3 years old when he was in reign. So during that time, she also didn't witness any atrocities as far as, the German against them. She's a German-Dutch mix. She married my father, who is a Dominican Caribbean mix. So hence that created me. And throughout my years on this planet, I always had a hard time filling out, what your racial description is, only because German, Jewish, Dutch, and Dominican, Caribbean, what do you really call that? Because we had a different type of list, that had nothing to do with any mixes that I had. So that made me think outside the box. Why is that? Okay, so if we go back to the melanated planet, I know my generation, when witnessing people having children or mothers having children, and they have 10, 15 children down the line. I'm not saying everybody does, but let's just say for argument's sake, it's 10 or 15 children. Each one gets lighter down the line. So just imagine a billion years pass, quadrillion years, trillion years, whatever it is that makes you feel comfortable. because they gave us an idea of how many years the human has been walking on this planet. And they never considered it a black, red, white, yellow, brown, purple, green, blue human. It was just a human with a human soul, with a human spirit, with a human body, with a human mind, with the human organs. It was all just human. So we see that it's just human, and there was only two sexes, male and female, mother and father, creator and creativity, I guess you could say, because the mother, when she carries us and she births us, we seem to be born facing the mother, seeing your maker. Well, that's how they say in the Bible. You know, you meet your maker, and you meet your maker upon that birth. And in that birth, that mother, or after that birth, that mother accepts you as one of her own, you know, as one of herself. She doesn't see you as anything else other than a part of her. And that showed me how us humans were supposed to treat one another. So here we are, on this planet. A melanated mother was created billions of years ago. She progresses, she evolves, creates a population. Other mothers start creating, and other mothers start creating. So eventually down the line, you have the lightest of the melanated people. So each color is a melanation, and each color has melanation in the blood. No matter how much you don't want to believe here, you can get your blood tested, you can get your DNA tested, and it'll show that you have melanated blood in you. So for argument's sake, let's throw the colors back out the window. So it's a melanated planet. It's a human family, a human species. And each one of you are special, because these fingerprints, these palm prints, this retinal print, this voice print, those feet print, the day you're born, the month you're born, the time you're born, all of that is different to someone else. There's no one that will be that exact same time, date, place, any of it. No one will have your signatures that make you unique. So you have to understand, I know that we are very special. I know ever since I was little, when I first saw comic books, for instance, or television cartoons, I used to imagine that I was so powerful and creative. I wanted to be the X-Men. I wanted to be Wolverine. I wanted to be Spider-Man, Superman, Batman, you name it. Everyone does. We have an imagination. That's why it's dangerous in today's society with that idea of gender. It's very scary. But let's not talk about that. That's for another video. Here we are on this planet, a melanated planet. And throughout these years, no one really travels to different places. No one travels to different countries. I have been lucky. I have traveled to 68 countries, and it was within a 30-year period. So I've gotten to see places more than 6 months at a time. And in those times, I was able to meet locals, aboriginals, people of the origin, and they would bring me to people, places and things that would help me find the story that I was looking for. My subconscious just sat there just documenting everything. That is my true wife. That is my true partner, you know, that subconscious. My conscious is me. Now that subconscious, that is my eternal flame. That is the one sitting there documenting and creating this story and sharing these stories with you. Now, throughout the years, we have all seen that history is different throughout the generations. For instance, I was telling you my mother's history, or my mother's current events were my history. Her history were her mother's and father's current events, and so forth. If you look at this situation and you really dissect it, look at it with your regular eyes, but look at it with your spiritual eye as well. Because these taste, hear, touch, taste, you know, those 5 senses, that's absolutely nothing compared to what you truly are. Those 5 senses kind of dull you down if you believe you only have 5. Because there are more chakras in the body than seven, and there are far more information about the human being than is being told. For instance, I've been in 68 countries. I've heard another story, other than the story I grew up with in America, in the United States, the one in New York. We had a different history, and people around America had a different, I wouldn't say the exact same history, but they had a different account of certain histories and different account of European history. And a lot of these people that claim to be a color of the lightest in America have abandoned or was forced to abandon their European heritage, so they call themselves American. Anyone that comes from a darker melanated country, they're forced to use the melanated country with the word American. For instance, African American, Latin American, Asian American, so forth. And it kind of screws with the mind. It kind of gets you on this misdirection. And not too many people will sit there and try to follow those footsteps backwards to find the beginning to what has rooted us into this. Now, you and I are brothers and sisters, maybe even cousins from the 50th or the 30th percent. Because if we are all melanated, that makes us all cousins, so to speak. Not so much brother and sisters, because not each one of us had the same mother and the same father. I would like to try to explain this to you in a way that would be comfortable to you, but I know that it's very difficult to change anything that you have documented in here and in here because you're willing to fight it. Now, if you use your spiritual ears, your spiritual eyes, your spiritual essence, you'll find out the truth for yourself. Because we are a spiritual essence and we have a library worth of information, well, libraries worth of information inside that DNA. Plus, all the water that's in your body is memory, all of the cells that are in you is memory, and so forth. I don't want to get too technical, I just want to make it a little basic for you to understand, because I want everybody to go ahead and research this. I want everybody to find out the truth and figure out who we are, what we are. Now, for me to leave and go to 68 countries and never be threatened, accosted, shot at, stabbed, of course, obviously not murdered, I was always loved or accepted or received by all people,